Let's go to Anthony in Rhode Island. Anthony.
Booyah, Jim.
Booyah,
Big fan here.
Thank you.
Yeah, question for Neo. Would you buy, sell, or hold out?
Answer for Neo. I would sell, and I would buy Ford if you can get it $12.75. I would say do it now. Let's go to Neil in Louisiana. Neil.
Hey, Jim. Thank you for taking the call. Appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
And my question is on Palantir Technologies.
Look,
PLTR.
I think they have unbelievable technology, and I think that they work closely with the government. As far as I'm concerned, $22 goes to $28. Make a move and buy some. And that, ladies and gentlemen, the conclusion of the Lightning Round.
If you're wondering whether to buy, sell, or hold your Palantir shares, then this message from Jim Cramer could be your guide to making the right decision. The host of CNBC's Mad Money program has recently advised investors to consider buying Palantir shares, stating that the data analytics company has amazing technology and does great work with the US government. So, should you follow Cramer's advice and buy some Palantir shares? Let's find out. Before we dive into today's video, if you want to keep up with Tesla's latest updates, as well as other large caps, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times a day about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to today's video.
We're talking Palantir, quietly become a bit of a next-gen favorite, and it's certainly been the favorite for many bullish investors in the name, as it's had tremendous performance over the last few months. Jenny, so far of the last 3 months, up 42%. 12-month performance, 176%. It's really been strong, but the nice thing is, if you still believe in it, it's 11% down over the last month, so it's volatile too.
It always is, it feels like. I feel like there's never a day when we don't talk about Palantir where the volume doesn't stand out to me. I mean, like, this name trades and it moves all over the place. And actually, ironically, it's not making that big of a move today. We are up about almost 2% here, so definitely seeing some upside. But the company did unveil this deal to provide its software through Oracle's cloud platform, and the pairing of the two companies is making this really, I'd say, a more sort of tackling the growing appetite for AI software in large businesses. Oracle has, of course, seen growth in recent quarters for its Oracle Cloud Infrastructure arm, which appears to be taking some market share from some of the three largest U.S. cloud providers, those being Amazon, Microsoft, and Alphabet. But Palantir last year launched AIP, that stands for Artificial Intelligence, its platform, and that was the company's real entry into the market for AI enterprise software. The companies did say in this joint announcement that they'll be moving some workloads running Foundry, as well as the company's software platform for corporate data analysis, and utilizing Oracle's cloud for the first time. But Palantir will also be making its Gotham software, which is specifically for government solutions, and its AI software deployable on the Oracle Cloud. And that is actually what I think is the most interesting case about all things Palantir, is its overall presence with the government, because that's resilient. I know that also can have its headwinds and tailwinds, but Alex, what I think is interesting is its bulk of its revenue now actually comes from government contracts. It makes up about 56% of their total sales. So their CEO said, we are only in the very, very beginning of using AI for our country's security and military. And that's a way I've never really heard AI utilized before.
Jim Cramer's recommendation comes as Palantir's stock has seen varying levels of performance in the market. Still, his endorsement is a notable mention for investors who follow his insights for investment strategies. This is because Jim Cramer is a popular figure in the investing world, and a lot of investors listen to him, so his latest recommendation on Palantir could be just the push that these investors need in order to take a chance on Palantir. In this video, we're going to explore some of the recent events that could likely make Palantir a good stock right now, as well as the possible hiccups that Palantir investors could encounter along the way. Let's dive in.
Well, what about plans for AI investment? Because last time we were speaking, that has been a priority for many of the business leaders that you have been speaking with. What are you seeing in terms of planned investment there, and has that shifted at all?
So the last time we visited, top investment priority for CEOs was generative AI. And that was months ago, last year. And this latest survey said 56% of CEOs are going to maintain that level of investment. So they're maintaining a very high level of investment, with 41% increasing that. 31% of that 41% is actually 50% or more increase in spending around generative AI. So generative AI is a huge investment priority for organizations. We're actually seeing generative AI moving from pilot and use cases to actual implementation at businesses now. Businesses are using it in ways to become more efficient in their operations, more productive, but very much looking at ways to disrupt their own business models and create new revenue streams for their organization. So generative AI is truly going to be transformative. There's no doubt that it's still in a fairly nascent stage, but we're also seeing companies put it in real places to drive efficiencies in organizations and, to some degree, reimagine their business models.
Last year, big tech took the spotlight. You could say that Microsoft kicked off the AI revolution with a multi-billion-dollar investment in ChatGPT developer OpenAI. Then, Alphabet and Amazon jumped on the bandwagon and both pumped money into a competing platform called Anthropic. With all these flashy AI investments happening, it was pretty easy to overlook what Palantir was up to. But back in April of last year, they actually launched their fourth and arguably most impressive software product, the Palantir Artificial Intelligence Platform, or AIP for short. Palantir wanted to get the word out about its AIP in a low-cost, efficient way, so it started running these immersive seminars called bootcamps. At the bootcamps, potential customers were allowed to test out Palantir's different products and figure out how AI could help their business. This was a pretty creative strategy for promoting the company's products and getting new leads, and it turned out to be a very successful play for Palantir as the company's overall customer base grew 35% last year. Not only that, but their commercial customers shot up 44%. This was a big deal since Palantir was known for securing deals with the US government, and some critics didn't think the company could expand much beyond that. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Investocracy. Palantir stock recently closed at around $22.84, a slight increase of 1.87% from its previous close, with a 52-week high of $27.50 and a low of $7.28. The company's shares reflect a significant range of trading activity over the past year. Palantir has become a bit of a battleground for investors, and while some see it as the next big thing, a tech powerhouse with the potential to revolutionize how governments and businesses handle information, others scratch their heads, wondering if it's all hype or if truly there's real substance there. So let's try to clear up all the confusion surrounding Palantir and find out why seasoned investors and analysts like Jim Cramer are so bullish on its stock. Palantir has a strong track record of working with US government agencies, from defense to intelligence. It has also helped analyze complex data sets to fight fraud and improve national security, which gives it a certain level of credibility and a foot in the door with a big spender. Recently, the company secured a substantial $178 million contract for its Project Titan, which is a battlefield intelligence system that would give the armies its first AI-defined vehicle. But that's not everything, as Palantir recently announced a partnership with computer technology giant Oracle, which will see the two companies mix AI and cloud infrastructure. Per the deal, Palantir will deploy data workloads from its Foundry and Gotham platforms to Oracle's cloud suite, and this partnership will boost the company's business with the government as well, because the US Department of Defense announced that it was working with Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, and Oracle for its cloud computing needs a couple of years ago. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
We have been talking about a much more dangerous world, many more hostile adversaries. And with that backdrop, investors are increasingly looking at defense as a hot investment. Venture capitalists have been investing more than $100 billion in U.S. defense tech startups since 2021, expecting the government to ramp up our military. But the Pentagon does not appear to be keeping up. Defense software company Govini finding venture-backed companies received less than 1% of the $411 billion Defense Department contracts in the last fiscal year. Joining me right now is a man who knows this better than most, 8 VC managing partner and Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale with us right now, who has been investing for decades into defense. Joe, it's great to see you.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you so much for being here. Assess the backdrop for us in terms of how you look at allocating capital with regard to defense. I mean, does that mean drones? Does it mean technology? Tell me how you're investing in this environment.
Yeah, well, as a venture capitalist, there's two things that really matter. You want to back the best talent, and you want to back things that are possible now that weren't possible before. And so you're looking for big gaps in the world. Where are new possibilities being created? There's a lot of big gaps, unfortunately, in defense because you have these giant monopoly companies. A lot of them merged in the 90s, became a small set of primes, and a lot of them have not been hiring the best innovators, have not been innovating in the last 30 years. So you see new possibilities they're not taking advantage of. China is. That means we have stuff to do.
Well, exactly. And I think this marriage of defense, know-how, and technology can be incredibly powerful, right? Tell me about that.
Well, there's all sorts of new possibilities thanks to AI right now. You obviously have, all sorts of autonomous vessels, drone swarms. One thing I'm really excited about is with the Navy right now, you have some amazing people running the Navy, but we don't build ships like we used to in America the same way. But fortunately, you can build lots of really small ships, thousands of them. You can give them, you give them autonomous abilities, and you can augment our Navy, make it a few times as powerful.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the Navy because this is one issue I have with the Pentagon. China right now has a larger Navy than the United States.
It does.
How big of a worry is this for you as we see hostilities and aggression coming from communist China every day?
I think a lot of us, including me, if you go back 15 years, we were naive about China. We thought we'd be able to work with them. We thought China was opening up. We thought we'd go there and partner. And it became really clear, maybe it's about a decade ago, that Xi Jinping is actually a true communist. He actually is forcing the best and brightest to build weapons. And, China's in a lot of trouble economically, but that means they're likely to be expansive and dangerous, and we have to deter them.
So I wonder how you see this as a major investor in all of this stuff, the fact that there are Chinese companies right now trading on our exchanges that are tied to the Chinese military. What does that mean? That means American investors are funding the expansion of our number one enemy adversary by buying those companies.
It's not a good situation, Maria. Listen, I think a lot of people who are good people want to work with the talent in China, and that seemed like a good thing to do. Now that it's become clear they're our adversary, now it's become clear that they're working against our interests, we have to change up the rules. We have to stop engaging with them in the same way.
I wish the Pentagon understood the investment angle the way that you do, frankly. I mean, tell me about the opportunities. Is it drone technology, AI? Where specifically do you want to allocate capital?
Well, drones are a big thing. There's the war in Ukraine, as we're watching, both sides making hundreds of thousands of drones to send at each other, and there's a lot of new anti-drone possibilities as well. So you have a new prime emerging called Anduril, right, which is a really important company doing lots of things there. There's also a really...
And I love him who runs the company
Palmer,
as well.
He's a great guy.
Palmer, love him.
Back to an Oculus early on, too.
I know you did.
And he started that with a few of our Palantir guys. Palantir's obviously doing key work here. The anti-drone stuff that's really cool, it turns out you could shoot electronic weapons, basically, EMP pulses, and turn off drones very far away. I shouldn't say how far on TV, but there's really cool kind of counter-drone technology being created back and forth, and it's really important we research and deploy this stuff with the best technologists. We did a new company, Maria. They spent billions of dollars on this in the Pentagon. Our new company shot down the drones 10 times farther away using modern technology. That's scary. We shouldn't be able to beat the primes by 10x, but guess what? We can right now because they're not using the best engineers.
That's unbelievable.
Some analysts were downgrading Palantir stock recently because of a slowdown in its government business, as government revenue was up by 11% in Q4 of 2023, compared to 23% for the same period in 2022. But these analysts might not be seeing the bigger picture. It actually makes sense that the government side of Palantir's business is slowing down since the government needs to approve the budgets for the Palantir contracts, which could take some time and slow down the flow of cash into the company. And that's why Palantir is trying to branch out to the commercial sector. In addition to the work it does with the US government, the data company is chasing deals with commercial clients in finance, healthcare, and other industries. And the idea is to become the go-to data analysis platform for businesses too, not just government agencies. In fact, it was recently reported that Hyundai Heavy Industries, the world's largest shipbuilder, is teaming up with Palantir to enter the USV development field by 2026, hoping to leverage the potential of sophisticated technology and to innovate in naval warfare, meeting the current global defense needs. This is a great opportunity for Palantir, as the global USV market, which was worth $920 million in 2022, is projected to reach $2.7 billion by 2032. Now, we already know about the data analysis magic that Palantir does for the government. So, imagine that strategy working for banks, hospitals, or even your favorite retailer. That is the commercial stretch that Palantir is looking to employ. Think about finance, for instance. Palantir sees a golden opportunity here because its software can help banks fight fraud, manage risk, and even identify new investment opportunities hidden in all that financial data. Palantir has already signed deals with some big banks, like the Italian banking group UniCredit, but if it continues on this growth trajectory, we might end up seeing Palantir systems in many of Wall Street's financial institutions sooner than we think. Likewise, healthcare also needs data. This is a sector that Palantir is extremely interested in because hospitals are simply swimming in data. Think of patient records, test results, treatment plans, and so many other records. Palantir wants to be the lifeguard in this data sea, helping healthcare providers make better decisions. Interestingly, finance and healthcare are just the tip of the iceberg. Even energy companies could use Palantir's software to optimize their operations, and retailers could use it to understand their customers better and target advertising more effectively. So, the possibilities are endless as long as there's data to be analyzed. And Palantir is casting a wide net, talking to companies in all sorts of industries.
You know, if you have a big giant culture that becomes a monopoly and it spends more time on virtue signaling, on being politically correct, on making sure it has God knows what internally, as opposed to having the very best tech cultures running it. It's very hard these days if you don't have the very best engineers running your company. The best engineers don't want to work for them. They don't want to work for most of these big giant companies.
And Anduril, you mentioned Anduril Industries. They're also working at the border with their camera and drone technology, right?
They're doing perimeter security, and they're doing much cheaper. You can watch everything going on the border, and unfortunately, it's not deployed across our whole border, but where it is, they've had tens of thousands of interdictions.
Now, I got to ask you about Boeing. I mean, this is a sad situation what is taking place here. One of the world's largest defense contractors, a gem for America for a long time, a whistleblower is claiming that the company took shortcuts during the production of the 787 Dreamliner. Boeing says the claim is absolutely inaccurate, that it's confident in the safety of the planes. But, of course, the CEO is departing right now, Dave Calhoun, testifying April 17th, and we'll watch that testimony where he examines the plane maker's safety culture. The stock is down this morning by a fraction, but, of course, has lost so much value in the middle of all of this. How do you read Boeing?
You know, it's the same thing you're seeing with a lot of the other primes right now. Safety culture, sure, but is it a culture of substance that's focused on the hard problems and having the smartest people making sure they're pushing things forward? Or is it focused on all sorts of virtue signaling? Is it focused on all sorts of things that have nothing to do with the best technology and best business? And you know what happens with these government-linked organizations? They become like the government, they become full of bureaucrats, and they waste their time on nonsense. And it's a scary thing.
It is a scary thing. You've backed so many companies and founded so many important companies in our infrastructure in this great country. Joe, tell me about AI, the power of AI, and really the backdrop of the best of America and how you can invest in it.
Well, you know, America wins when our productivity of our nation goes up, when we take new technologies and we accelerate and we deploy them to create more wealth and to outcompete the rest of the world. America is ahead in AI right now. AI is going to improve productivity in a lot of different industries. There's a lot of people in Europe celebrating how much they're regulating it. A lot of people here are trying to copy them. If we could stop them from doing that, stop them from being what we call decels and decelerating our economy, we're going to win, and we're going to create a lot more wealth for everyone.
So is that the barrier, one of the barriers, regulation, that is stopping the U.S. from becoming even more innovative on this?
I think that the new companies right now are not yet overly regulated. A lot of people are proposing things that would stop us. Right now, we're still attracting the best and brightest, so we still have a huge lead in that area, and that's something it's key for our nation. It's one of our biggest advantages, and a lot of people are trying to destroy that, and we're trying to stop them.
So you're focused right now on defense as well as healthcare and the marriage of technology in both those areas, correct?
Right. These are both such overregulated areas, so it is true. Healthcare, for example, there's lots of ways it could work better with AI that the rules don't allow. There's lots of ways that the health systems, which are local monopolies, try to stop new ways of disrupting them, and we basically have to stop them from putting in regulations to block competition.
But in terms of where the growth and investment opportunity is today in the public markets?
You know, yeah, in general, I obviously do things in the private markets, but I think it's similarly in the public markets. You want to invest in areas where there's big gaps, in areas that are overregulated, areas where you haven't allowed new technology to spread. There's big gaps there. Healthcare is a great example of that.
And
by now, it should be obvious that Palantir has a lot of opportunities for growth, and Jim Cramer isn't the only one that sees this. Even ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood is bullish on Palantir and has been buying the shares. The expert made headlines recently after she sold over $20 million in Coinbase shares and purchased Palantir shares worth around $162,000. Wood herself even said before that she thinks Palantir could become one of the world's largest AI companies. and believes that it could disrupt even Microsoft when it comes to AI. You wouldn't be wrong to say that there's a long way to go for Palantir before it can be considered a direct competitor to Microsoft, but there's no denying that Palantir has some exciting things going for it. Using its software platforms, the company is able to sift through numerous data, identify patterns, and help users make sense of it all. This kind of data analysis is becoming increasingly important these days, which is why Palantir is on an upward trajectory. However, while the company is at the forefront of data analysis and has strong government partnerships, some analysts still think that the stock is currently overvalued and will have to go down in order for the price to neutralize. So, as with any investment, it's important to do your own research before jumping in on Palantir's stock. But on the positive side, Palantir could be a high-reward, high-risk play, and that might not be for everyone. Keep in mind that Palantir has grown by more than 160% over the past year, so it's not impossible for Palantir to grow massively, but growth stocks take time. Palantir has been around since the early 2000s, so it's definitely not a stock for investors who aren't willing to buy and hold for the long term. But if you're willing to load up on some Palantir shares, the best time to do it is now because the company might receive an inclusion to the S&P 500 in its next rebalancing in June, which could boost the stock because an S&P 500 inclusion would put Palantir on the radar of more institutional investors. What are your thoughts on Palantir right now? Do you think it's a buy, just as Jim Cramer has said? Let us know in the comment section. If you would like to know what companies like Palantir have been up to these past few days, then go ahead and click on the next video on your screen.